Just a quick video. I'm just replying to clientele. Just asked some questions, and I said that I'll do a video on it. It's not going to be long. I'm just going to basically touch on the key questions that you asked. You basically asked, what's the point of how the world runs? And as I've mentioned in some other videos, it basically run at the expense of indigenous people who usually are at the bottom of caste, and that's across the whole world. But when it concerns DR Congo, it's usually run at the expense of the indigenous people of DRC Congo, if that makes sense. And that's not to be confused with family groups who control the, let's say, the civilized ethnic categories that get promoted to the Western world. So the people underneath that, they are the ones that basically suffer. So it's run at the expense of the poorest. That's the way the people, at the top thrive. I don't know if that's the answer you was expecting, but in a more technical a more technical explanation would just simply be the world is run on labor, but the type of labor that is run on, it's not just labor, it's energy as well, like mental energy. The type of labor and mental energy isn't what I'll describe as like righteous, if that makes sense. It's almost cunning and in a what's the word I'm looking for? In almost cunning and a cruel way to some degree. I'm not speaking about more so the West. I'm talking about how basically in the West it will look like, people have a good life, and to the most part they do have a good life compared to people in third world countries. However, it's in order for that to be sustained in terms of like finances and income and the global markets, people from so-called third world countries or in lower castes in other countries across the world, they have to suffer by big massive factories of workers getting paid, I don't know, £1 an hour or something like that. And these are the sort of stuff that causes that basically takes away people's mental energy and obviously labor as well. So when we're talking about DRC Congo, we're talking about from anything from mining to harvesting products or anything. Do you know what I mean? So that's another technical explanation, just simply on labor and energy. Usually, labor and energy of lower caste people or indigenous people. And you also ask why Africans are always last. I wouldn't say Africans are always last because I identify as two different groups of people who basically act under the titles as Africans. So, for instance, there's family groups for centuries. They've never been last. They've always been okay, and these are usually people in presidential positions or in cult groups that are connected with United States of America, Britain, Germany, Italy, Switzerland, Rome. So these Africans, they're not last. They've always been okay. There may have been some of them may have been put on TV to make it look like they appear that they are last with the lower class people, but it's not. So the key word I said is lower caste. If you're talking about the people that's lower class, is usually the people that are indigenous to land masses across Africa and aren't really part of the family groups that the Europeans put in front of us. They are the ones that's last. So if that's what you're speaking about in terms of last, that is they are going to be always last, so long as the Europeans usually so long as the Europeans continue to get their support and hard work from their little minions in black faces. So that's how. But at the same time, the people that are last, it's very difficult. So I only can make reference more so to Congo. It's very difficult for the indigenous people of Congo, whether in Congo or outside of Congo. It's hard for them to not be last. Solely on the basis they didn't know that there was in a race, if that makes sense. So on the fact that they didn't know that they're in a race, they're yet to understand how to strategize and be critical in thinking about, things moving forward to not be last, if that makes sense. So, in order to, they don't even know that they're last, if that makes sense. But they do know that they're suffering, but they don't know, everything that's happening. So you've got different types of people that are last. You've got people that are last because they don't know that they are in a race. You've got people that are last because they seek, what's the word I'm looking for? They seek resolutions from people in black faces that they put in front of us. And also there's like loads of other alternatives that they put out there to ensure that they last. Another one is religion, mainly, especially Christianity. With Islam specifically, the Islamic cult groups in Africa, they're not always last, because they're also connected with the West, such as like America and stuff like that, and other cult groups. But is usually the common lower class Christian, or the common indigenous person in Africa that's a Christian. They're the ones that are usually last. But the others that we're speaking about, they're not usually last. So it's like a yes or no about Africans being last, because Africa's I don't want to sway away your understanding of Africa. Africa's, it's just a construct which is handled by the Europeans, and used by people with black faces as well. That's just the way I see it. And you also said, this is your third question, I think you said, what do you think will happen in the future? Are we just doomed? And I'll say, I don't know what will happen in the future. All I can do is, I mean, what's people talking about is the dollar crashing and stuff like that. All I would say is, I don't think the dollar will go and crash completely. It will go down and then it will just shoot back up. All that will happen is there's going to be a little bit of more even playing field in so-called poorer countries, maybe even countries in Africa, to make it look like there's a level playing field. Because I think the issue at the moment that invading Europeans are having, and even the cult groups in black faces, they're having an issue with where it's getting more and more difficult to lie. And sometimes like they're panicking, like they've doubled down on so many lies that they have to now have like what's the word I'm looking for? Have an appearance that looks like it's associated with morality, and even that they're shit at it as well. They don't even, that's how out of this world, or out of the real people's world, how out of it they are. So they'll make it look like it's a painful, and that will play a part in other countries, making it look like they're stopping colonialism, or making it look like they care about Africans in more extent, making it look like they further understand the technical issues in Africa and stuff like that. But what they need to do is, they're scared to get real people to do it, so they will still have their people in black faces, like those African family groups that are in cults and stuff like that, connected with the West. They'll still get them to lead the role in the playing field, but they're just gonna try to. They would even do some things that appear moral, but the whole thing is that they need to change the look of it at least, and if that means giving a little bit of the slice of the cake away, they will do that. And the people, the cult Africans in black faces, they will get a little bit of the slice of the cake. Hence why they are online pushing loads of misinformation and stuff like that, because there's an incentive for them, and they'll hide behind the Bible, or hide behind a cult doctrine or something along the lines of that. So in terms of doomed, I only can speak for people that I would like to say are biologically like me, indigenous people of the DRC Congo. We've always started in a situation that is that if you look from a bird's eye view, it will be in a doomed position. It's not. I'm not saying this in a negative way. So if the dollar crashes, it's not going to make a difference to us. Do you know what I mean? It's just going to make a difference to the cult groups. That's why it's the cult groups that's getting scared, running trying to set up a shop anywhere in Africa or whatsoever, and even creating fake kinships. So in terms of like when I was talking about the two caste systems, maybe the people who are higher up in the European system at the expense of lower caste Africans, maybe they will be doomed, but we won't feel the thing. It will be business as usual for us trying to survive. And that's about it. Thanks for your message anyway, and yeah, I'll be bringing out some more videos soon.